Go.
5, 4, 3.
It's showtime.
Good morning, Vietnam!
Welcome to the party, pal.
See you at the party, Richter. I didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
Get away from her, you bitch!
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
You did not going to say that, did you? What I do have are a very particular set of skills.
The dude abides.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Inconceivable.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
This is a tasty burger.
Face.
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
I'm the bad guy?
And Hulk. Smash.
I can speak with an English accent.
Hit the hash pipe and join the National Guard. I could be elected president.
You went over my helmet?
What would you prefer? Yellow spandex? I know, right?
The list is in the open.
Hey, where are the white women at?
They're digging in the wrong place.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Are you not entertained?
Second start of the ride. And straight on till morning.
Meow.
You son of a bitch.
1.21 gigawatts.
Wax on, wax off.
Oh my goodness, I am sporting a tremendous woody right now.
Bartender is the aristocrat of the working class.
You want to flip 6-3 whole play and you can score.
Cover me.
Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. On this team, we fight for that itch.
Might be a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
No ticket.
No ticket.
I get older, they stay the same age.
It's not what you know. It's what you can prove.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude. He's 15.
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Hope is a good thing. Maybe the best of things. And no good thing ever dies.
Okay. I was just reading a message from our guest who had to bail out at the very last moment, but it is what it is. Good evening, and welcome to the Reel McCoy. I'm your host, Meffistoe, and always with me, my hetero life mate, Oh My Feelings. How are you, sir? Hello? You're not back from pee break, are you?
こんばんは、メフさん。お元気ですか?
Get wrecked. Anyway, the Reel McCoy is your weekly movie podcast where we ask you to go watch a movie, you watch it, come back to us, and we break it down for you. I broke out the dress shirt for this
All
week.
I said was good evening, Mef. How are you? Jeez.
You're coming in at the very, really good day for this, and I'll tell you why. Today was the day, or at least partly yesterday, but today was the day that officially the road to Japan 2027 has begun in Casa de Meffistoe.
So
Yes.
you're going to...
So,
are you going to go to Tokyo and Okinawa then? Or
Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto. Who was the guest? Extra Zero. One of the Legion of Memers individual who, I don't know, Legion of Memers kind of fizzled out the past year and a half. So it is what it is for them. But he was here with us for the Jim Carrey movie.
Eternal Sunshine of the Mind.
Thank you. That one. And he was like, I offered him the the schedule, and the first one he was like, Akira, count me in. But he was running errands, and now he said he'll be home. He couldn't be home. He sent me a message. And
was he also there for Lord
there's a
of
very
War?
important reason why he's not home. And it's not bad. It's good.
Okay,
So,
well, that's good.
I wish him all the best. Essentially it was my fault that he couldn't be here because I didn't ping him on time. Because I know you're having one of those weeks for at least 7 weeks. I've been having those weeks for the last 2.
Yeah, it's been rough.
It kind of hurts my channel, but I can't do nothing about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's be happy. Let's be joyous because we are in a very sort of like momentous month for the show. We're kind of wrapping up about 4 years of shows. This month, May. That's where we kind of started. I don't really remember the exact date. I think we discussed it last year or 2 years ago, where we don't know actually what the date was because the first show was unlisted. We broadcasted it live, but only for sort of like recording purposes.
Yeah,
and we're not. Let's just say we're not supposed to be here, but it is what it is.
Yes, pretty much.
But this is not the celebration show. The celebration show will come at the very last bit of the month, where
I said that's also episode 200, right?
And episode 200, because we kind of skipped a few and all that stuff. So it all wraps up neatly in a bow with episode 200 of the show. But today, during Cyber Month, we are going over, to me, the movie that kind of introduced me to anime. Not necessarily. I did watch anime shows when I was a kid, because all the shows that we had that are like animated shows were based from Japan. They were modernized, westernized. I don't want to say Americanized, but westernized. So we got like Wizard of Oz and well, I don't know if you know those. There's a very much in the zeitgeist here, but Niels Holgersson, which is a story about a Swedish lad who goes out with the gooses into Lapland.
Well, that's kind of a weird thing too, where a lot of people are like, well, I never really got into anime until Waylon. Like, did you watch G.I. Joe as a kid? Because you basically watched anime.
Yeah.
Did you watch Thundercats? Did you watch He-Man? Because a lot of it was done by Sunbow Entertainment, which was
that's what I'm saying. A lot of these shows were drawn, or they were done in Japan, and then they were either commissioned to be a specific one to match, let's say, a toy, which was like the He-Mans, the Thundercats, the Spiral Zones, and all that stuff, which were kind of like a toy in Japan, but not really developed into any manga and all that stuff, and then brought to the US. And I watched a lot of these different shows that probably you've heard of with a different name, but we had the Israeli version of the name.
Yeah.
But Akira was the first one where my mind was like, oh, you can do blood and killings and nudity in anime? Wow, that's pretty much adult. And as I was doing research, and you'll probably mention it, it was mind-blowing even in the US and Europe as well. So it was collectively, people were like, whoa,
what
you can do this.
And it's really funny because you know how you mentioned that this was kind of the first anime film that I had seen, also with another film that I mentioned to you that you were like, what the hell is that, called Robot Carnival.
Yes,
because my friend's dad was basically just like the most super religious dude, but he'd buy anything that his kids wanted. So my friend was really into just like cartoons and stuff. So he bought Robot Carnival, Spectre Man. Spectre Man was late 70s, early 80s Japanese kind of like Ultraman show, where it was like Power Rangers but like Godzilla. And yes, Kaliki Yogi, you're right. A lot of Batman the Animated Series was actually done by the same studio that drew this.
Yes, but
TMS,
of course in the 90s.
Yeah, but then it was also Akira. So yeah, we watched those all back to back, and it was like, whoa, they got away with some stuff. Because Robot Carnival, I highly recommend everybody watch that one as well, because it was really, really underrated. It's kind of and it's a montage of several different films that are all about this, about robotics in some shape or form, but it's all set on the backdrop of this one gigantic robot carnival that goes on planets, drops in there, and then just destroys the whole goddamn thing in revelry.
Okay. So, Akira. Before we get into the nitty gritty and that whole thing, Akira, we're going to talk about today a lot about influences, about connections between real movies into anime. We're going to talk about the manga connections, all that good stuff. And we start with a little segment we call Behind the Screens.
Sound production, take 2.
Forgot to ask how many times you've watched it this week, but I'm guessing about 2.
3, because I watched the original English dub, the new English dub, and the Japanese version.
Okay, I've watched one version, which I don't know which English dub was it. I have two versions. I have the Japanese version. I have the the original one. But I couldn't get subtitles, so I had to watch the dubbed version.
Gotcha. No, I watched the Japanese one without subtitles on. I turned them off specifically because I'm like, I want to get the actual full nuance. So.
Well, you know how to speak Japanese.
Hi.
So, Behind the Screens is where we turn to all my feelings, get the lowdown on everything behind the scenes, production stuff, and a little bit of extra bits and bobs with all the manga connections. So
yes.
Go ahead, sir.
So to start off.
Oh, you know what? Sorry. The one thing we forgot to do, and I'm sorry for this, we'll say hello to the audience, is Kaladin, Juliet, Kalikioki, and all the rest of the people who jumped in from the Salty Nerd podcast, all the lurkers. Thank you very much for joining us. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Take it away, sir.
So you mentioned manga. It was obviously based off of the manga of the same title by Katsuhiro Otomo. But if we're going to talk about that, we have to first discuss his major influence, which was Tetsujin Niji Hachiko by Matsuteru Yokoyama. And it was so, like I told you the little bit of the stuff backstage before we started, but they're direct homage to the other manga, specifically like both protagonists are named Kaneda.
Okay.
Colonel Shikishima and there's Professor Shikishima in Tetsujin.
Okay.
They play almost the same kind of role in the like authoritarian kind of role. Tetsuo is named after Professor Shikishima's son.
Okay.
Ryusaku is also one of the protagonists. It's like an ancillary character who's on the side, but he's more positive influence on the characters. And Akira is actually the 28th of the line of psychics, because you have Takashi's 26, Kyoko's 25, and Masato's 27. That's the 3 that we see. And Akira was number 28.
Yeah, where's 27?
That's Masato.
Oh, he was 27?
Yeah. So you have 25, 26, 27, and Akira's 28.
Okay.
Well, now the thing is, Tetsujin Niji Hachigo, Niji Hachi, is 28.
You are confusing the audience with too much Japanese.
So basically, that means
I'm serious.
Tetsujin number 28 is because it's about robotics, and that was the robot model in the series of Tetsujin that played the titular role in it. And Akira was number 28 of the Psychic Project in Akira.
Okay.
So that's what I like.
Continue
tying into each other.
I got you. I'm not sure other people did.
Okay.
Do continue.
So originally Otomo did not want it to be adapted at all. He had a very, very, very difficult process when he was working on another project called Harmageddon, which got a small anime adaptation, but he was working on a manga shonen at the time. But it was creatively done so poorly that he never wanted to be adapted until the Akira Commission, which they mentioned actually in the titles. It's 7 different studios came together to fund the project. Okay. One of them, oddly, being the Laserdisc Corporation, which is, again, the first time I saw this was on Laserdisc.
And And to be fair, in 1988, CDs were not so readily available, but they did exist.
Yes.
But most people did not have them.
Yes.
And in the first shot of the movie, essentially the first scene, there is a laser, not a laser disc, but a CD player that is a jukebox. Because they thought it would be the thing in the future in 2019.
If you notice, if you look at it too, there's just a whole bunch of classic rock in there as well.
I know.
Which is like, okay, yeah.
They also knew that classical rock will still be here today.
Still be there around, yeah. So essentially, the reason why Otomo signed on was he was given direct creative control over the entire project. So it's like, all right, I'll do that. So originally the funding was, I do believe it was 707 million yen, which was like 5.6 million US, but then it ballooned to 1.1 billion yen, which was like 10 or 11 million at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Which was at the time the most expensive anime project ever.
Yep.
Which kind of crazy. So
because they got about $45 million worldwide, so they're good.
Oh yeah, they turned a profit. It did.
Yeah.
Especially on when it came to adaptations that came out later, especially for home box office, and then when cable picked it up, we're gonna get to that because it sold so many copies after one specific network in the US aired it at late night anime. Well, we're gonna just get there. So originally, it was actually going to eclipse over 2,000 pages.
Okay.
It was shortened down to 738
of dialogue pages.
Yes.
Okay. Because it doesn't really cover the entire manga like a straight manga to anime series.
And what's interesting about that, as we mentioned backstage, is the anime adaptation was made before Otomo even finished the manga. The manga wasn't finished until 1990.
Which was about 2 years later.
After, yeah. Oh no, Paul. We're talking way before Adult Swim. Way before even Toonami. Like, we're talking like sci-fi back in the early 90s. It was, we'll get to it.
Okay. You'll get to it.
Originally, the animation was done by Tokyo Movie Shinsha, which is now TMS, which they did the animation that Kaliki mentioned for Batman the Animated Series for several episodes, which is really cool. With the way that it was done, it had over 160 individual cells, comprising 2,212 shots, utilizing 327 different colors, with 50 being created for the film.
That is different because it is closer to what Disney was doing from 1938.
Yeah. And the reason why it was done this way is because all of the scenes, if you notice, is primarily shot at night. So there wasn't really that color palette that was readily available for them to utilize. So,
they had to use different shadings for everything.
Yeah. And speaking of how it was actually done, the anime was made before the manga. The dialogue was recorded before production began.
Okay.
And it was the first time it had ever been done for an anime.
So all the audio was ready before they even got to do the production.
Yep.
Okay.
For the original Japanese version. Yep. All of the dialogue was already recorded. Yep.
That's insane.
So one bit how they found it kind of impossible that they were trying to reach out to the Western market more and more and more. And notably, both George Lucas and Steven Spielberg said that they enjoyed the film, but it was completely and utterly unmarketable.
Okay.
Which you think
I'm just thinking of at the time how the mood was. This is like late 80s. You would think this would be right up the alley of,
especially for Lucas, you'd think.
Yeah, but you have to consider this. What we know and think about what you can do with animation today, it was very different from what they thought you could do with animation back in the day. So the most grown-up animation thing that you had was Fritz the Cat from 79, 8, 3, something like that. I don't know, from the 70s. And then you had Heavy Metal.
Heavy Metal, yeah.
And there's another one I don't remember the name of.
Oh, these are very, very, very adult and like more sexualized than anything else.
Exactly. So that when you think about like anime that is sort of for grown-ups, you don't think about like stories like Akira or stories that come out of Japan, which is more cutesy, more childlike, that sort of like TV. I mentioned TV series back in the 80s from when I was a kid. You think about those series, that style of animation,
I would
Studio
still think
Ghibli, that sort of a thing, but you don't think about what you can do with this sort of animation.
I would say because I think probably the most popular one worldwide at the time would still be Voltron.
I guess,
and
it's still very for kids.
It's still the mecha kind of monster of the week and everything. But anyway, mention how they made the anime before the manga was finished. Now, Otomo openly has criticized the film, stating that he thought it was the worst possible idea because too much of the original was lost. Like the movie was originally supposed to be 3.5 hours long.
I thought 2 hours was a bit too long, to be honest.
Well, there's a lot more nuance, and you actually go more into the backstory of the war in 1988, and like talking about World War III. And there's a lot more backstory in it, and the actual powers of Akira, and at the very end of it, there is no subtext in the manga. There's no way you can just misinterpret what Akira is and what the concept of the general powers and the sense of being and creation is from the manga. In the anime, there's room for interpretation, even though it's commonly considered to have one true meaning behind it. As you mentioned, you watched a whole bunch of just people talking about the film.
Yeah,
and they had a generalized idea.
Most of the people who dissected the ending explained and all that, they took a lot of the story beats from the manga and then superimposed them on the ending of the movie. But if you would have just kept it in the movie, a lot more ambiguity, a lot more of the you can guess whatever you like, which I personally like. I don't need people to explain things to me.
Yeah, well, that was more storytelling
in that way.
Well, that was more storytelling at the time in Japan. Was like there is no room for ambiguity. Like it needs to be kind of laid out, which thankfully has changed over the years. But yeah. Anyway, so originally it was released in the U.S. by Streamline Pictures. Now, Streamline eventually did bow out, and Pioneer Entertainment bought the rights, which is funny because you know who did the first press releasing for it worldwide?
Lucasfilm. Just kidding.
Pioneer Entertainment for the Laserdisc printers, because they had they were the biggest sellers of Laserdisc machines at the time. Which
we had two different Pioneers systems, stereo systems for like regular CDs.
Yeah. So what's great about that is if you're more of a fan of more modern anime, really, because it was re-recorded, because they actually ponied up the budget to spend $1 million to have new artists come in and redub the whole thing. And they refurbished a lot of the audio and video, and a lot of people that are now really into anime who might be watching it now be like, wait, is that Spike Spiegel who is the attendant It's like, yep, Kaneda. Wait, that's Ichigo from Bleach. Yeah, that's the same voice actor. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we'll talk about the Cowboy Bebop inspirations. I mean, from Akira to Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, it's very clear that there was a whole bunch to the Watanabe got a lot from that, and especially on his new series as well, which is really good.
Right.
But so just one last couple of notes. Due to strict import laws of Japanese products, it was released in South Korea under a name called Storm Boy. And at the time, it was listed that it was by a studio based in Hong Kong. It got 2 weeks of release. Then it was found out that it was a Japanese film and got pulled immediately. The license got struck.
Yeah. And if you didn't know, South Korea or Koreans don't like the Japanese at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Oh, Paul, I agree with you 100%. I told Matt backstage the original English dub I thought was way better. And also, if you really want to watch the Japanese version, please watch the Japanese version. It's way better overall. But oddly enough, a lot of the enmity there has kind of laxed over the last couple of decades, and it was actually fully released on its own as a re-release in 2017 in Seoul, which is nice.
It's okay.
As from there, there's just a whole bunch of notes about specific scenes. One I told you about, and when we get to it, it's gonna be.
We'll get to it. About. I've got the
timestamp now.
Time stamped.
All right.
All right. Cool. I have one more thing to add, which I mentioned Disney. Akira was innovative in terms of the anime style of how do you do things. Because there's a lot of technical workings into how do you do an animated film, right? So you mentioned the cell shadings, how many there were, and it comes to why there were so many, because most anime things that were produced, even for the West, so some of the stuff that was produced and was strictly going into the West, had a 12 frames per second way of doing things. It made the process way faster because it just made it faster, cheaper, all that stuff.
Yep.
Plus, you can have a full-on half-an-hour shows with like 7 seasons, that sort of a thing, if you wanted it to, even though it was also expensive. But Akira was special because in a lot of the scenes, you had 24 frames as if it was a Disney film, which made a lot of the movements a lot smoother and something that was never seen before. And it made a lot of the destructions that happened throughout the movie. And there are a lot of stuff that gets destroyed in this movie, and like things and people. This was the thing that made it more innovative and made it look way better than any other animated film that came out of Japan. And that was another thing that kind of blew everyone's mind. But it was inspired by the 24 frames that Disney were able to produce.
Yep. Okay. Sorry, there was a couple more notes. I jumped all over the place on my notes and kind of lost those there. It was actually, when it was recorded, it was shot in 1.85 to 1 ratio, which was different from most other at the time, because it was actually to get a greater allowance of screen availability to allow bigger panning shots, which I thought that's a brilliant idea. It's also the second ever Japanese film, not just anime, to actually have computer animation in it, even though it's very minimal. It's only done to heighten shadows and shading effects. You really get to see it on when they're going to the Akira facility, when they opens the door for the first time, when the ice is breaking off. You can see it on the door frame shadows.
I saw that.
Yeah.
When as soon as the ice started breaking, it was like,
yeah.
I see it. I see it.
But it's one of the only. It's actually the second ever anime, but it's the third ever Japanese film that had any kind of computer generated effects,
Yeah.
which was really, really innovative at the time for them. And also to Paul's question earlier, it was on the Sci-Fi Channel before it was Sci-Fi in the early 90s, and also on TBS they had late night animated blocks. Really late night. It started at midnight. So they actually used to show Heavy Metal. They showed Vampire Hunter D, Akira. They did show Robot Carnival once, but then like other ones like Deep Blue and a lot of the older animes they were showing of that were more adult oriented, which was kind of got a lot of people into it. And the first time that Sci-Fi showed it, they actually did an emergency repressing of the actual first Laserdisc because it got such a huge demand for it.
All right, cool. And Paul's like, memories.
Yeah.
I'll say hello to Becky and Sander Hammerslag that joined us. All right, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, we will, before we dive into everything, we will play our first game of the night. It is called Missing Marquee. Missing Marquee is where we take 10 posters of movies, have their text written off, we display them, and you guys in the chat, and all my feelings will help you out. And we display them, and you will have to guess them. Where I'd screwed up all that stuff. Holy schnickety Bob! Start guessing, ladies and gentlemen.
One of the worst remakes ever.
Not the worst.
I said one of the worst, not the worst.
One of the worst. Very unpopular, we'll call it.
There's no reason why it should have ever been made. There was no reason for it.
Kaliki Oki's got it. It is the new Charlie's Angels. Even my mother is like, why the hell did they do that?
No idea.
Everybody's got it. Even Becky's like, that's the remake.
Yeah.
I know. I've put in a few of really new ones. No one knows this one? Holy schnicky. There we go. Sander Hammerslag's got it. This is, of course, Conspiracy Theory.
Now, which one?
Which one?
Yes.
Because it's pretty obvious what it is.
Yes.
But which one?
That's not a knife. This is not.
Yes. I don't have a knife here, so. Crocodile Dundee 2, you say? That is correct. That is correct. But you give it away, dude. You're like, oh, which one it is? Obviously, it's 2.
Yeah. Hey, which one is this one? Because it's really easy to tell because Domino's in it.
Yeah, because Domino is in it. That's why how you know.
Duh.
Like Cable. I absolutely love that poster. Love it.
It is fantastic. Yeah.
Like a lot of the PR material for all the Deadpools are super good, but the first 2 were like they let Ryan Reynolds go.
And
Ryan Reynolds.
It's just a giant plate of chimichangas. It's like, yeah, that's great.
This is the original one, not the one with Jeremy Irons.
Ooh.
Paul's got it. Sanders got it.
Lolita.
Yeah, Lolita. Original one. I haven't watched this in a very long time, and it's on my list forever.
Yeah.
Sanders typing way fast.
Yeah.
Sleepers. It is Sleepers, correct.
Okay, now this one I have absolutely no idea when it comes to Star Trek films. No idea. Something about the Borg, obviously, but
Obviously. It is a movie, not a TV series. Somebody must
Did this one have a tie-in to
Let's just say
TNG as well, or was it after TNG?
This is after TNG wrapped.
Okay.
This is not Star Trek Nemesis. This is First Contact.
Okay.
Which is the best one of the TNG movies, but it's by a slight margin. Most of the TNG movies are.
This is hands down the best spaghetti western that's ever been made.
No, because it's the second best.
I don't think so.
You sure? Stop. I'm joking. This is the best.
That's what I thought so. I thought that.
It is not for a few dollars more.
It's the other one. Julia.
The other one. Essentially, it's a trilogy, but yeah.
It's the other really, really good one.
It is the good, the bad, and the ugly. I was trying to make it not that obvious, but you keep ruining it.
Well, this one's clear as day.
I hate this movie
It's
so
very,
much.
very bad.
I hate this movie. I really, really do. It's one of those movies where I was like, I don't like Leonardo DiCaprio, and I don't like all the rest of the fucking people who played the Musketeers. The man in the iron mask. Paladin's got it. Sanders got it. Everybody's got it. Woo-hoo-hoo.
Just look in the upper right. It's right there.
Dumbass.
Yeah, it's bad. I believe we covered this one.
We did.
I know what it is.
Though. I love the poster, though.
Great. Yeah.
This is a movie that had a lot of production issues.
Yeah.
Including
people
deaths.
died.
People died. No, it is not Dreamscape.
Okay.
It is not Dreamscape, although it's a good guess.
I do have to say at one point in time, we do have to cover Tales from the Crypt, though.
Tales from the Crypt? The movie?
The movie, yeah. Because the movie was made before the series.
Did we? Yeah, we did all October. Well,
yeah.
The Twilight Zone movie is correct. And that is it.
All you have to do is, whenever you think about that, let the midnight special. What, you got Dan Aykroyd as a werewolf? Let's go.
All right. Akira. Akira actually should move it all the way back into essentially.
Well, the end of the Third World War, which was in 1988.
Yeah, we'll put it there, I guess. Wait for it. Yeah, so the Japanese have an issue, right? They have a massive issue. Sort of like, Jews in the number 6 million. It is also Japanese and the bomb.
And it's also, yeah, if you've ever watched any anime whatsoever, what is the biggest, your protagonist's main power do? Creates essentially a nuclear explosion that goes off like one.
Yes. Essentially. So to me, I have not seen the movie in a long while. And I didn't remember this part. I really didn't remember this part. I remember the biker gangs. Yeah. And I saw the explosion and I was like, again?
Which is so great, because I don't think
again?
That was more kind of a phenomenon. It still kind of exists, but now it's more kind of hot rodding. Because there are Japanese biker gangs, but they're more fun in a way.
Well,
there are a lot of them. Like there was a special that TV Tokyo 1 did many years ago about biker gangs, and one of them, they're like fucking greasers. Like they wear 50s leather jackets. They have their hair up in bouffants and shit. Yeah, it's a fucking thing.
it only goes to show that as much as Americans are like, oh, manga is really big and comic books are not that big right now. It's like, dude, Japanese people copy American fucking culture all the time.
It's also like that's the funnest thing about going to Japan is it's like, oh yeah, by the way, do you have any idea what your shirt says? No, you don't. It's just random words. It's like, oh, so that's how they must feel whenever they walk around and see somebody who's like, why do you have orange chicken tattooed on your neck?
But it says peace and love. No, it says
no, it doesn't.
Kung Pao chicken. Go.
No, that was one of the worst ones I saw was a Mandarin tattoo. I'm like, you know what that says, right? That's like a number 4 lunch special, bud.
What does this say?
Funny. I mean, says... like, if you love it that much, go for it, bud. I mean, rock and roll. But I don't think you know what that says. Yeah. What you think it does.
What does this Japanese sign says? It's like, fuck this white devil that I'm doing the tattoo on. Holy shit.
Oh, the best ones too are when people try to do their own translations of Japanese phrases and get them tattooed. Oh my god, I love that shit so much. It is the funniest fucking. It was like, no, that's not right.
Like I said, one of the things that as soon as I put this thing on, right? As soon as I put this thing on and kind of got back into the entire movie, the first thing I noticed is, like I said, how smooth every animation part is. Now, there is sort of like that jumpy 12 frames per second thing, yes. But there's also a lot of moments, especially the action moments, where everything seems to be super smooth and as if they were done, with like 80s style, but drawn on a computer and sort of modified and filtered in to be an old anime. And this is just phenomenal. This is all cells.
Yeah, I've seen that one too. Back in the Gaijin, so it was like, you idiot. But this one, I think you actually stumbled upon the perfect one, is the bike swerve scene that Kaneda does. That has been utilized and paid homage to in everything from like Jenny Tartakovsky, who does a lot of like children's anime. Like he did it in Dexter's Laboratory.
Yep. It's been done, dude.
So many things.
It's been done to homage this in Mission Impossible 2, and everybody hated that moment. You understand how iconic this thing is. And this is one of the things I remember from the entire movie is the entire bike scene, and that whole swerves back around, stops it because it's supposedly like the best bike of them all. And even Tatsuo can't even actually ride it because he's not skilled enough to perform all the different actions that the bike does.
He can't keep the RPM over 5,000. Where it's like, yeah.
And it's so weird because the moment he goes Super Saiyan, he actually has the spikes, which, dude, I didn't need any YouTuber to tell me this. It's like, oh, this is inspiring Dragon Ball Z and Super Saiyan. There's no way. It even has the glow and everything at one point. It's like, dude,
which is so odd because the creator of Dragon Ball and Otomo worked together on what film? Robot Carnival. They both made segments for it. Yeah, and you can tell because their art style is all the art styles are vastly different as well. And you're like, yep, that's the creator of Dragon Ball. Yep, that's Otomo.
And it's sort of like when you say Akira is one of the most, if not the most influential film in Japanese anime, you can pick apart all the different components that you had in the film, and I don't mean just that how it looks and how you tell a visual story, is actually how you tell a specific story that is this story. But when you're trying to do something else, you're picking apart different moments and you're mishmashing around and A, homage this one, and B, tell a new original story within what you wanted to tell. And this is like, I can see a lot of stuff fitting into this that I've seen. I haven't seen a lot, but from what I've seen, you can definitely say this. And It's like the Star Wars moment, not the scroll. The moment where the scroll goes off, you see it pan to the planet, and then boom, you're like inside the attack. And that inspired a lot of directors to like, oh, you can do this?
Which
I
is
didn't
so
know
funny
you can
because
do
George
this.
Lucas was heavily influenced by another Japanese director. Kurosawa.
It is what it is. But
yes.
that moment where, oh, this is a great shot. I like this shot. That moment where the resistant dude trying to steal away one of the, is it aspirants?
Well, he's technically they refer to him as different things. The most
Yeah.
common interpretation is psychic, because
Psychics.
that's Takashi. That's the one, the little thinner boy. Not Masaru is the one in the chair, and Kyoko is the little girl.
Yeah. So, and this to me, you can correct me if I'm wrong. There are 3 psychics in Minority Report as well.
Yeah,
Minority
Report did just take this 100%.
I'm just, and that's Spielberg. So, you know, that moment where he's actually caught, he comes off like at the rear of the protest.
Well, it's also the thing where he's running, and the first bit of violence outside of the clown gang is just like, oh, he just shoots a dog in the face.
Oh yeah. I kind of passed that part. Yeah,
What?
I kind of passed that part. Which, I don't know, a man that shoots 2 dogs in the street, I don't think he's a good guy.
Well, the only reason because they were attack dogs, so like he had
I know,
which sucks.
I know, but it kind of looks like my dog, so fuck that guy.
This and Dark City is the reason why The Matrix is the way that it is.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
These 2 films together, which is so funny because they wanted to do a live adaptation of Akira originally, like in the 90s, but the budget like ballooned to over like $331 million. Like, no way.
Yeah.
In 90s dollars.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
which means like $500 million in today's money.
They were gonna make a new one too, and oddly Keanu Reeves is gonna be in it, but I'm like, he couldn't play Kaneda or Tetsuo because
just
he's way
get
too
new
old.
people, dude. Get new actors, get fresh faces, man. Create new stars. Yeah. And let them be fucking annoying on Twitter as well.
Well,
anyway,
I could see like if Reeves were to come in and play Shikishima, maybe
he can play one of the
like older guy, or
he can play the director, the military dude.
Yeah, that's Shikishima. Yeah,
okay.
Colonel Shikishima.
Mm-hmm. Dude, you know I have problems with names. You have no idea how problematic
I'm just
this
gonna keep
movie was
mentioning them until you get it.
Yeah. All I knew is Tetsuo and Kaneda. Sorry.
What was so great too is the fact like you get to see that one the guy who's trying to steal away Takashi get fucking murked in the middle of the street. People just see him get shredded to pieces.
they shoot him so much his back explodes.
Yeah, it's just like, god damn.
And that's what I didn't want to put that on screen, so I had the cops, because I love that shot where you have them in the foreground, in the background you had the light coming in. It's so, it just looks so incredible. And then what you have is like immense violence. And this movie is pretty brutal, because we're gonna get to a very specific scene that I did not remember that happened, but I did remember it because I remembered there's nudity in this, but I didn't remember where and what context. And I knew it wasn't like a sex scene. It was, I just didn't know where and when. And when it happened, it actually did surprise me because I didn't remember. These kids are kids. They're high school age kids. So the whole, their whole shtick, their whole biker gang shtick really reminded me of a Clockwork Orange type of universe,
very
right?
much so, yeah.
Where you can see where a Otomo, the creator.
Otomo.
Otomo, the creator, was like really inspired by that sort of dystopia where you had these essentially kids, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds, just terrorizing the streets with just fighting each other, sort of like Warriors, the Warriors style from
Yes, the
79.
Warriors was a huge influence on this.
Like I said, you can pick apart and just build different things and add it in, and you have Akira, and then somebody else takes Akira, mishmashes it around, and creates like something else.
Just as a side note,
Don't start with your OCD.
I love the Japanese people so much, but I'm like, can you please stop telling stories only about high schoolers? It's kind of creepy after a while.
So when that whole scene happens, so this is the scene where they grab everybody, they grab the I need to scroll up.
So the one in the chair that you saw,
they grab Takashi, right?
They get Takashi back, and they take Tetsuo with them. And when they get to the police kind of like station where they're at, Kei is in there. Kei is the young lady that's with them. And this scene still makes me laugh hysterically.
I did too. I'm not gonna lie. As soon as he came out and he pulled the pin, I knew this is not gonna explode. But the laughter didn't come at this particular scene. It comes a scene later, and then you see explosion at the background. I was like,
who's like, oh, that was somebody else. And also too how Kaneda, this is like he sees Kei and he's like, well, no, actually she's with us.
Yeah.
So
and he kind of saves her, even though I don't know if she seemed like she was I don't know, she was trying to be arrested, not trying to be arrested.
She was just around the protesters around the time of the shooting of the I think his name was Shimizaki, I think, was the one who actually grabbed Takashi, was trying to flee with him, who got shot in the street.
Yeah,
we have to detain you to see if any of you were also protesters or not.
So the thing is, Tetsuo. I'm sorry if I butchered the name. Tetsuo is here,
and no, you're right. You're perfect.
I've kind of skipped over the fact that he's in this machine that either fixes him or gives him powers, or trying to build up his innate psychic powers, or trying to pull it out of him. You don't understand.
It was his interaction with Takashi after being in the accident that caused him his powers to manifest, essentially.
Yeah.
And
the doctor's like, the doctor's like, his pattern was really close to the Akira pattern, and this is where it kind of starts to unravel and who this is.
So great too, because if you notice, the machine the entire time plays the same kind of pings and notes from a certain film that we covered many years ago. It's from MUTHR, Mother, from Alien.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I want to get to this because so he breaks out. There's that whole moment of the nurse comes into the hallway and goes into his room. Oh, he escaped. It's like, how he escape?
That's the one big plot hole. Like, how the fuck did he get out? Like, it's explained in the manga that his powers actually manifested earlier and got him out that way. They just don't show it here. He just kind of gets out. It's like, how the fuck did you?
Now, if you just see the movie, you were like, yeah, they let him out without telling all the different, like, the lower class people, so it would look like he escaped in order to be believable and see his interaction, because they do monitor him while he does this. So we're like, did he escape, or did they let him escape? It's ambiguous to me.
And what's great too is, just as an aside, you mentioned Dragon Ball before. Remember how he kept saying, like, we're going to give him number 7 capsules? Why do you think he called it Capsule Corporation? in the Dragon Ball anime?
I've never seen Dragon Ball ever in my life.
But that's
ever. I know of it. I know of the looks of it. My boy was sitting right there watching the first 3 seasons. I kind of, had to look. I have no interest in anime. I do not. I like certain things, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I told you why. I don't like the newer anime style, even though Dragon Ball Z was like early 90s, right?
Yeah, early 90s.
So it's really close to this style. I never got into it, and I don't like the way the Japanese storytelling is told. Even in this, even in this, like in Akira, there are moments where I was like, yeah, it's a very, very Japanese way of getting into things, not the way American people do it, or essentially the West, because the British do it a little bit different. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get you. The only thing I wanted to interject is that one bit where you did get to see this Kaneda and everybody going to that school. For a little bit, and then that's a scene that's really unfortunate where he steals Kaeda's bike. And the dubbing on the re-release, why I think that our really good friend and mod hates it so much is because she literally says, it's stopping, oh, it's stopped now. It's like, that's not even what the line was. Why did you add that?
Okay. I didn't feel it was that important, but discipline. Oh yeah. The moment where they're standing in the row and the coach is like, discipline. Discipline. Yeah. And this is, like I said, very Japanese way of telling the story. When they come out, everybody's got like this huge bruise on his face, and that is so Japanese. Like you've never seen it in any place else. Just to show you how massively strong that coach was.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a lump here, a lump there. It's all purple. It's just very Japanese to me when I see that. It's sort of like when you see like Warner Brothers cartoon, it's Warner Brothers and not fucking Disney.
Yes.
That is what I mean. So Tetsuo gets kidnapped again,
but he has these flashes of the future, and during that there is the second big like terrorist attack.
Yes.
And the one thing I wanted to focus on this is right after that you hear a jazz number and you're like, why is there a jazz number playing?
I was going to ask you because it really reminded me of Cowboy Bebop. I'm not going to lie.
Very well. Yoko Kanno actually said that inspired her to utilize more jazz influence on some Bebop episodes. But anyway, no, it actually is a song from 1951 called Tokyo Shoeshine Boy that was made after the post-war. And what's interesting about that is the fact that that song is only in the film. It's not on any soundtrack ever.
So it's a kind of a folk song, but it kind of got into the movie because somebody liked it?
Yeah, pretty much. It's a jazz number, but like it's not on any of the soundtracks for the movie in any printing ever.
Okay. Now I want to get to this. I'm going to move a little bit forward because we don't have time for everything, but we have bookmarked something special.
Something which is fun. So
okay.
we just getting to this point, we have Kei meeting up with
Kei meeting up with Ryu and is it where she meets up with Kanada and he hides, they lock him in a bathroom and he kind of hides into their facility.
Kei ends up shooting the cop, and then basically kind of is like, hey, don't worry about it. What's done, he's already dead.
Yeah, he's already dead. And this is a 17-year-old boy.
It's not what it is in Japanese at all either, which is like Then we have basically
they go down to where Akira is, kind of introducing us to this monumental thing. And essentially, like I said, you could tell they had a little bit of a Kubrick thing going on, because as soon as he looks at this thing, it has that big red eye. It was like, come on. Okay, I got you. I know where it comes from, but this is what I like about this is what I like about movies. We mentioned inspiration and homages and certain, cues and scenes that are kind of like inspiring. And this is what I like about this sort of visual art is you can do something else, tell a different story, but certain key moments, you have a thing that is on screen and not necessarily is like, oh, look at this thing. It's just there. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. Did he do this or not? And it's not answered. That whole Akira red eye thing, not answered. They don't even discuss it. But it's just there as a visual cue. If you know, you're like, oh, I see. If you don't know, it kind of fits within the visual medium of what they were trying to go for, and you don't lose anybody. So I love that. I love that about any other movie. It's sort of the same way of a good setup and payoff is for me. It's like it inspires me to watch the original, to watch the inspiration to what you were trying to sell me or to make me look at. But yeah. Crazy that Tokyo actually got the 2020 Olympics. Yes.
Yeah.
They do discuss that when they have that not town meeting, but the elder meeting, the city council meeting. It was like, what about the Olympics? What are we going to do? And this is 2019. It's like,
yeah.
That is incredible. Do we think that it inspired like Japanese politicians to try for Japan 2020? I don't know, but you never know with these
people
things.
On the voting council was like, I'm a really big fan of Akira, so yeah, let's give it to Tokyo this year.
I don't know if Tokyo is really ready for it, but let's give it a go. All right, now the floor is all yours.
So this is fun. So this is after Kyoko has her vision, her premonition of the future with the destruction caused by Tetsuo. And
yes,
so there's a whole big sign where Dr. Onishi is reading the monitors of the EKG. And this little sign there, caution.
Yes, I'm gonna
written
this
in Romanji, which is basically Japanese phonetically translated into English, but it's a joke from one of the animators who was a little bit perturbed that he had to do this.
What does it say?
Essentially, it says, why do I even have to draw this? No one's ever going to see it.
We saw it. It's there. Look at it.
I saw it. Yeah. It was just like, okay.
I didn't see
like, so like, why is that Romanji? It's like, so it's like, wait. Wait.
This is another thing that I like in movies. It is not the Starbucks cup that was left in Game of Thrones kind of a thing. This one is deliberately there because your eye doesn't focuses on the writing. Your eye is the two characters, okay? Your eye just naturally goes into where the action is, and the action is in that conversation between the general and the scientist. And that's why it's there. It's like nobody's going to see it because their eyes, their look, their gaze are going to go to the other side of this panel that we see. And I bet you there's plenty of these things happening in different movies that we still haven't figured out.
Oh,
like 50 years later. And I like that it's there. By the way, you mentioned the CGI, and that is one of the moments where they open up this thing and kind of reveal Akira. Is still sort of like not substantial. They kind of look at it and talk about it as if Akira is in there, but that is this CGI, not this particular moment, but the CGI parts that we
with the door
used.
opening, and also there it's listed. The number 28 is listed above it as well. We're like, oh, okay, that's the homage that Otomo was paying back to Tejujin, which is it's really cool.
Now, I wanted to touch upon this because this is one of the things that in the manga is much more elaborated and not really in the film. You mentioned the fact that Otomo wasn't able to tell the entire story.
Yes.
One of the stuff that is in the manga but is not really in the movie that much is the councilman's story. Now, please elaborate.
Yes. So this is Councilman Nezu, and essentially, like, he's talking to Ryosaku. So essentially, he's trying to undermine all of the efforts of the kind of like psychic division, for lack of a better term, that's under the purview of Colonel Shigeshima, and by doing so, what he's doing, he's giving all of the rebels and the protesters the right amount of information, and they're leaking it out to these. Now there's this fanatical cult that is believing in this concept of Akira as a god that's being hidden, and how they have the protesters there that are they're part of that cult that are breaking up television. So like, no, technology is evil, and the reason why is because it really takes us away from what Akira is, and Akira is really about the life force of the universe, and technology is the thing that's destroying, and every piece of technology that we create is actually perverting life force, and that this is really important because it's essentially the entire story of Final Fantasy VII. And the creator of Final Fantasy VII said, yeah, I just took that from Akira.
Nice. Very nice. One of the images that was interesting to me was the guy crouching down, this guy.
Yes,
I've seen this look before, not in Akira, and I don't know where it's from. Same getup and same kind of like anti-technology thing. Not sure if it was doubled in an American movie or something else, but I've seen that design before used again.
The garb and setup really makes him look like, well, half Shinto, half Buddhist. it's an amalgamation of the two.
Yeah, but I've seen that sort of getup before, and I couldn't find it. I thought it was from like Johnny Mnemonic or something like that. It wasn't. It was something else. I don't know. Okay, so after that conversation, we kind of see him, rubbing his hands while the general's like, fuck you. It's like, you don't understand. This is terrible. We have to continue, blah, 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 blah. And everyone else is like, why are we funding your project again?
All the politicians, they even get what number Akira was incorrectly multiple times. Because that actually that's blatantly clear in the Japanese version as well. But it's all basically just them pointing the fingers at each other, and it's like, well, nothing's being done, and it's your fault because you're the lead of that, and the reason why it's getting out is because of you. And like, yeah, fuck with the wrong guy.
Yeah. That is really interesting. So the guy has a Jim Jones style glasses.
A little bit.
That's the drinking the Kool-Aid kind of a thing,
Kind of the same kind of haircut, a little bit.
Yeah, that big poofy Elvis kind of look. Yeah, maybe. You never know. Now, this freaky thing, which really reminded me of Pierre LeFou from
Pierre LeFou, yeah.
The fever dream with the animals that are essentially the other psychics trying to mess with him in his dreams. It really reminded me of that. And you mentioned that circus anime thing. really is in that same vein where it's supposedly like cutesy animals, but they kind of reveal themselves into, oh, it's not really cutesy.
At first, it's adorable when they're tiny little miniatures and they're climbing up on the pillow, and like the little car that would be Masato is pushing up Kyoko, who's the rabbit, pushing her, and then the two bring up the little car, try to grab him. Like, oh, it's. And the weird thing too is, why did it have to be Why did it have to be milk? Ugh, so weird. And also, this is the second film in 2 weeks where I'm like, hey, Meth, welcome to my nightmare.
Oh, okay.
Dolls freak me out.
Meanwhile, while Tetsuo is having these insane dreams,
which to point to a point that Sander made before was the bit where he goes and he slips on the glass, steps on it, falls backwards.
Yes.
And did the shattering glass all around him as well, where it's like, it's really, really still holds up. It really holds up.
Yes. I'm not going to lie. I was looking at it and and again, I've only seen this in Japanese anime where they have that sort of instant shine that it does to make sure it's glass rather than just inanimate objects. You have that sort of like shine, plus you have that sound effect cue on it, so it's a shiny surface. Very much like that. Very much like I
you
know
do
where
have to
it comes from.
Just the fact to like how the psychics, even though they are aged at this point, they still are essentially still just children, because their way to scare him into kind of some sort of compliance in a way. The manga explains it in far more detail, and it makes a lot more sense why they came after him. But how like he quote unquote breaks the walls and they're Lego blocks in one scene, and
I want to get to that point where is it Kyoko? The
little girl?
The psychic. The little girl, yeah.
Yes.
So she kind of sends messages to Kai while she was riding with Kanata. And every time
that's K. Kai is his friend at the very end that's with him.
N-word, please.
but also we did kind of skip over the bad, like how the resistance was able to.
I want to get to that because we literally have an hour left of the movie and we've got like a 40-minute show.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to get to a very interesting point. I don't know if it was in the manga or they did it on purpose or not. Every time you see her speaking at sort of like Kyoko controlling her mind, telling her what to do, she has that sort of like bluish eyeliner.
Yeah.
So you can tell whenever it's sort of a mind takeover or when it's actually her.
And what's interesting too is she has it later at the end, which you know what that means. The ending led to it.
Yes.
Where she's the one who inherited their power. And
yes.
That's she's going to be the next iteration of
But this whole exchange, this is after that fever dream where Kanata goes to save Tetsuo and he goes into this baby room. They call it like a baby room or children's room. I think they call it a baby room, which I thought it was okay. I understand this is the dub version. The baby room is sort of a straight up translation. It doesn't really work because they're not babies.
It's more referred to in the Japanese version as a children's playroom, which makes sense because they're stuck in perpetual childhood.
And this, to me, is a moment where the Wachowskis totally lifted to do the Matrix
now.
This is the Wachowskis totally ripping. Well, not this is the new bit, but this is the moment where he's like, "Oh, I can fly now." Moment, or I cannot die because I have these powers and I could just move things. This is like everybody falls the first time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. That's
kind of a thing to me. And as soon as it was on screen, I went totally Matrix. I was like, okay, I get where this affected this. And
Sander, don't make me sad. Stop it.
That's all I'm saying.
Reference to a terrible film, but no, you're absolutely right, and that was a clear homage that they were paying to the film.
And after that whole exchange, there's like this dude is coming in. Oh, I have your warrant for arrest. It's like, well,
and he goes, actually, you know what? Shoot him.
Yeah, shoot this guy. I was like, oh, no problem. Bam, he shoots him.
And the guy was like, who's the G-man and the fedora and well, it's a trilby, but anyway.
Well, he shoots the cop.
The guy in the black suit who has the gun, he's like, no, you know what? You're good. I'm done.
No, he shoots the cop, but then he stops for some reason. That is something that was like, wait a minute, something ain't right here. But the police behind them, or the MPs behind them, they were like, okay.
The guys that are in front of him were like, you don't want to die here today, do you?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
No. So the thing is, Tetsuo, the first thing he does after he essentially lands was go back to the bar.
Yes, he goes back to Harukiya.
And they have that whole exchange of, oh, well, now you're old enough to drink. Now, this is where the dubbed version, I think, went rogue. Because I didn't understand what the fuck they were talking about.
No, he wasn't saying that. Well, he asked
was he offering him the pills or drinks? Or do you want something?
Because he was asking for caps. Because the caps are really more prevalent in the manga, which, like, he was given capsule number 7s at the facility in order to basically enhance his psychic power. And that's kind of the reason why he's asking for caps there, because he realized that, well, I'm feeling ill, I'm feeling sick, I need more I need more medicine, essentially. It'd be like going to a bar and being able to order Vicodin if you just got cut off and you're going through DTs.
But of course, the bartender gets killed because when the two, like, these are Tetsuo's friends, they come in and the bar is mangled, and they see the dead bartender, and then they look up and Tetsuo's like having this grin on his face.
So they're like, "Hey, you guys want one?"
And a bag full of pills, and he ends up. Did he kill the other friend?
He killed Yamagata, but Kai and the one in the back with the green jumper and the red tie, he got away. You see Kai later, but yeah, he killed Yamagata.
Yeah, because he dropped a cupboard on him or something.
Essentially crushed him, yeah.
Now, this is where I don't get. So the general, I'm saying the general, he put Kanata and Kai
Shikishima, yeah,
in the cell. For what purpose?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe because they broke into this thing, like pretending to be the cable dudes.
So maybe they were he was going to try to interrogate them later in order to get information who was actually the actual snitch, because they realized there's a mole in the operation because Nezu's on the council.
Yeah.
So they're like, maybe they will be able to eventually lead back to find out who is the one on the council who's leaking all the information, who got them all in this mess to begin with.
And of course, because of Kyoko, they managed to escape, essentially.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this door's open. do we really need to know why? There's a moment it was like, let's go. It's like,
I don't think you need to answer the question. Just go.
like, how did this door got open? Do you really want to ask what? Let's just leave.
We just saw your friend basically blow up a room with his brain. I don't think we're past asking questions. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Essentially, is that. It's essentially that. So they meet up with their friend.
That's Kai.
That's Kai, and Kay is the chick.
Girl. Yeah.
Where the chick does look a lot like Kanata. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's on purpose.
I know. But essentially, now all hell breaks loose.
We do have that like kind of touching moment where you get to see the actual affection that Kaneda does have for the people that were in his gang, because he's like, what are you doing? No, I'm sending Yamagata's bike back to him. So he basically sets it to rev up and run into a wall and blow up.
Yeah. It's a nice little gesture. I did like it.
Well, that's then Kai essentially just gets Kay gets taken away by Kyoko, which I'm like, they really skipped over how their powers work.
All right, so,
but we did have that bit with Nezu and Ryusaku where he's getting all those bearer bonds into a briefcase, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing here? You shouldn't be here."
Yeah, because the general is cracking down on the council. Essentially,
he led a successful coup. Like he controls the government now.
Execute Order 66.
Essentially, yeah.
Essentially, Order 66.
Yeah, what happened in Japan during World War II?
Anyway, I love the fact that rogue councilman that kind of looks like a rat.
Nezu, yeah.
Which
is so funny because you know what rat is in Japanese?
No.
Nezumi.
Oh, so he's
Nezumi.
Yeah, I got it.
Symbolism.
Yeah. So he runs away. Ryu's like, "What are you doing? Why are you running away? We need you right now." And it's like, "No, fuck you." Kills him.
He's nearly having a heart attack. He shoots him, but Ryusaku is not dead. He keeps following him, and Nezu has a heart attack in the street and dies with like. I love the symbolism of the bearer bonds covered in blood hitting covering Ryusaku as he gets to where the protests are marching in front of him as he dies. We're like, yep.
And Nezu's got a bunch
quickly.
And Nezu's got a bunch of pills down his mouth. He couldn't swallow. And this is sort of like I said before, this is like, to me, this is Dragon Ball Z inspiration a mile away.
All I'm saying is it just needs to be a little bit in the center, and it's like, wow, there's Vegeta.
Yeah. Now, the red cape. I wanted to ask you, was it inspired by Kanata's red garb, or was it a Superman deal? Because you don't get an answer why he went with this.
That's
getup.
A fantastic question. It's both.
Interesting. Do we have sort of an explanation in the manga, or was it from
there is
information
a little bit
later?
of explanation in the manga because he said, "Well, I'm a god now. I might as well dress like one."
That's the Superman reference.
Yeah.
That's an easy Superman reference.
Yeah.
And the red is because of he sort of like looks up to Kanata, and it's not really explained during the movie.
Yeah.
And then there's that moment of the flashback where Kanata's handing him his toy, and it's like, I'm new here too, and I couldn't stand them beating you up. So
no, because I beat them up. Don't worry about them. And it was it was like they're weak people essentially. But the thing is, he idolized him but despised him for it, because whenever he was able, Like this is really more prevalent in the manga, with like you get a lot more of the nuance, especially at the end. We'll cut forward and cut back, but when he's having that conversation when he's begging Kaneda to help him at the end, we're like, you two are just trying to murder each other.
Yeah.
Like, why are you asking for his help now? Because that's the dichotomy of their relationship, of he idolizes him but despises him at the same time, because no matter what he got into, it was always Kaneda that saved him, and he did not want to be saved anymore.
It's a little like little brother syndrome kind of a thing. I look up to my big brother, but I kind of despise my big brother because he is carving a path for me, but there's no room for me to,
To deviate from
carve
the
my
path.
own.
Yeah,
Carve my own, and sort of like. But I love him. And
why do you
he
think that the
protects
first
me.
thing? Yeah, they're like, why do you think the first thing he did when he escaped from the hospital was to take Kaori and steal Kaneda's bike?
And steal the bike? Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is like Super Saiyan moment. I love this part because it goes slowly. So they shoot him with the tank, and then he's like, no tank.
He sends the shell, like it explodes around him,
Yeah.
and then the tank essentially is like, this is such a 40K thing with psychers. Like, I love it.
Yes.
Crumples upon it. It was like, yeah, it's great.
And then they come in with the laser weapons, and that has zero effect.
Which is kind of weird because it has an effect later when.
Yeah, but
Kaneda's
essentially
using
he's able to sort of like divert, sort of have that that protective, force field shell when he needs to, but when he doesn't see it coming, it kind of throws him off because he's not really a god. He still has limits to what he can do.
Well, that's why when the satellite blows his fucking arm off after, like, even through his barrier. What's so funny is, it's like, why didn't you guys just have an entire squadron? Because he's going down a 4-way stop. Just have it at 4 intersecting ways and just boom.
Yeah. I didn't have a shot of this before, but this is the moment where you hear that music. That's sort of like that music box. That music box, kind of an element into it.
I was gonna say real quick too, it has one of the coolest little stop computer animation bits where right before Tetsuo gets his cape, there's a helicopter that's flying and clearly flying sideways because it's being thrown and it blows up. It's like, that's an excellent shot.
Yeah, that is.
But we do have in the interim we have the crowd behind him calling him Akira, and
that sort of like you don't know if they're in the cult or they were inspired, because we've been told a little bit, snippets here and there about the cult, but you don't actually see it, like, get too much elaboration. Again,
true,
that is in the manga. I'm guessing.
Yeah, there's a lot more about that, and also the more of the protesters and the really terrorists, for lack of a better term, because they're blowing up government buildings. But
no, I mean, you get a lot more inferred information about the fact that people know about Akira, but they don't actually know what's it all about.
Yeah, because they realized that the World War III was kind of an inside job.
Yeah. The Black Hawk. No, just kidding.
Steel beams don't melt at that degree.
Building 7.
We're stopping. Nope.
Stop. But sort of like that myth. It's sort of like the urban myth, if you want to say, of Akira, and how does he meld into the war thing, and him being a divine, not really a god maybe, but sort of a divinity type deal. I don't know.
What's great about this too is that the name for him, Akira, that's written in katakana. It's not written in kanji, which means, you know what that means? They interpret him as a foreign entity. not something that's natively Japanese. It's something otherworldly. It's something that does not belong here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because like I said at the very beginning, a lot of this is coming from a world of I need to deal with the bomb or the two bombs, actually.
Yeah.
And that is a very interesting point because you've got essentially two bombs going off, one at the start of the movie and one at the very end of the movie, which I thought, first of all, it's a nice little symmetry of like movie making. And B, yeah, there were two bombs, not just Hiroshima. There was Nagasaki going on.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to put that in because essentially the first bomb is Akira, the second bomb is Tetsuo. And they're both going to a different plane, essentially, depending on what kind of a dub you got. I got the dub where it's like they went into a whole new universe.
Well, it's essentially they're the world that we live in right now is not ready for us.
Yeah.
One day it will be, but for now, she's here. That's why they kind of took over Kay and how Kay kind of fought him a little bit in the film.
It wasn't really doing too much damage. I mean, Kanata did way more damage than she did.
Yeah.
Which is weird because he was essentially ill-equipped to do things. But they didn't mention it. I want to mention this now. They didn't mention that every single person has that innate ability to be more than he is.
Yes.
And it's buried, and some people have it more out in the surface and some don't.
Well, because it was brought up on several occasions, like, well, Kay, when discussing with Kaneda, I was like, well, what if there's more? And like at the very beginning of all of it, like, amoebas, but what if there was something more just inherent around to begin with, an energy that is creation itself? And that's kind of where it all ties back together. And he finds it like, yeah, Akira's been dead the whole goddamn time.
Yeah. Akira has gone into a different plane. They don't really explain it here. They explain it just a little bit further. The fact that when Akira moved from being a corporeal person with psychic abilities and he moved on or essentially ascended, if you want to say it like in SG-1 terms, when he ascended, that causes the fucking explosion.
Yeah.
And essentially caused World War III because they thought, well, that's the only thing that can cause that is a nuclear explosion. That means we were attacked, initiate counterstrike.
Well, in so many ways too. That's the reason why everything that Shikishima, the colonel, does makes so much sense because he's trying to control this because he knew what happened. It's like, you don't understand. If we don't get a hold of this, it's going to be the same thing that happened 30 years ago.
Yeah. So we're essentially looking down the barrel of World War IV.
Well, not even another world war. It's like, no, at this time, there might not even be a Neo Tokyo.
Yeah, there would be a nothing.
Yeah.
Which is almost what happened.
Which kind of goes back to the whole bit where Onishi at that one point in time when he's actually, when everything's really going off, at the very end, when Akira is fighting back Tetsuo's energy, he goes, wait, this is the same kind of recording. This is like the recording that would happen at the beginning of the universe, where's a singularity. It's like, oh, well, yeah, shit.
Yep. And to me, this is half religion, half science, telling the same exact story of the Big Bang.
Yeah.
I thought about it and was like, yeah, that kind of fits. And you can mold it into whatever you like because it can fit one thing and it can fit. So it can fit a more, earthly, sciencey kind of a thing, kind of an approach to it. But it can also be, if you're into religion and faith and all that, yeah, that could signify certain things happening. That's why in the Matrix, it kind of works well with the whole Messiah Jesus complex, all that stuff that, was done really poorly in the third movie, I think, but
Yeah,
it is there in the first movie too. So it really kind of fits with that whole thing. And it, again, made me go back to the Wachowskis and how they wrote things.
Yeah, I do have to just make that point there. Just have Neo die at the end of the third film. Don't make a Jesus allegory. Don't bring it back. Just have him die. And be like, hey, you know what? No, the cycle repeats itself. That's how the story kept perpetuating itself moving forward. Don't be like, oh yeah, by the way, he's now some very extra special version of the one, even though you have countless iterations of the one.
You know what's crazy? In this story, Tetsuo is not the one, even though he does move on to the next plane. Tetsuo is Mr. Smith.
Yes, very much so. He's the catalyst. He is the one who causes.
At the very end, sort of like closer to the end battle, you were like, yeah, everybody's got that power. They mentioned that everybody's got the power, but Tetsuo's got the mega sort of like the next stage, but it's up to him to see if he can either tame himself or be selfish and use it to grab more power.
No, essentially, actually, I think it's a better allegory with the fact that how Mr. Smith at the end could not contain his insatiability. Yeah. And it's the same way with Tetsuo, where you're no longer controlling the power is controlling you. And it's clearly evident how he literally just crushes Kaori to death.
Yes. Yeah. And he turns into this massive blob that, and even when he sits down after he gets his hand blown, he makes his own arm. But one of those YouTubers had a very weird analogy, and I thought a lot about it. The fact that Tetsuo's got a body, right? And the body contains this power. But as soon as you cut off the arm and stuff kind of leaks out, even though you did build that arm to contain it, even the arm doesn't listen to you because that power kind of leaks out of you.
Yeah.
So he sits down
it's
in
now
the
nature
chair.
in the world.
So he sits down in the chair, and the power kind of takes over him as gets, he tries to amalgamate himself with the chair first, and then he starts to, the power kind of seeps out of him, and he just continues on expanding and expanding and expanding because he cannot contain this power, and he cannot control it.
There's one thing I wanted to add real quick. When he goes up to take out the space station, I do believe it has not been done so well until modern media, where he leaves the upper atmosphere and sound ends.
Yeah,
because
there's
space
sound.
is a vacuum. And it's when he's destroying the space station, you hear the people inside in panic mode, but outside there's explosions that quickly disappear because fire can exist in the vacuum of space. And it's like, wow, that it's so well done. It's so well done.
I know you said it like a long time ago, but dun, dun, dun.
No, that's the whole bit of the main score is tan, 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 tan. Yeah.
Yeah. And it also fits with my theory of dun, dun, dun. All right, cool. We're going to stop here for a brief second because we need to play a little bit of a game, have a little bit of a breather until we talk about essentially
the ending. Yeah.
The ending that is a little bit of ambiguous, maybe not. The game is called Screen Fighter.
Round 1, fight.
Screen Fighter.
Nope.
It's where we take two movies, fit them together, and see which one is the best one. If there's no discernible difference between the two, both of them are good or both of them are bad, we fall into our criteria, which is Saturday evening, Friday evening, out with the boys, out with the girls, out with your significant other, two movies in a vacuum. Which one will we pop in? The Last Boy Scout or Van Helsing? Chat participation is most welcome. Just say your pick. And All My Feelings will have to explain why he's not picking The Last Boy Scout.
Actually, I would pick The Last Boy Scout because I think it's a better movie and it's a lot more fun. Van Helsing is still a lot of fun. It's awful, and also I do believe is the Queen Bride Isla Fisher. I think so.
One of them, yeah.
She's a very, very attractive redhead. You know me. I'm a sucker.
I know. Also, this is like Underworld before Underworld. Same. By the way, they use same kind of CGI for the
we're talking like months before Underworld as well.
I know.
Yeah.
But like I said, they used the same kind of transformations for the lichen. I was like, okay. Last Boy Scout. You know why? Because water's wet, sky's blue, and I still love my wife. Best line in the movie. And it comes at the very end. Well, essentially.
You have never seen Proxy Hawks. I know you haven't.
I've not seen Proxy Hawks ever in my life. Okay, cool.
Oh, wow.
This is
okay.
Essentially iconic 90s, even though it came in 1999, but essentially the opener for the 2000s or the iconic 84 movie.
It's actually a great Japanese poster as well. Yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna have to say it. My buddy and I snuck in and saw American Pie, and I saw it not too long ago. It's still a bad movie, but it's still fun. And also, it was 1998, not 1999. Flick Chart's got that wrong.
Fine. Wax on, wax wrong.
Hey, you know what? And at least in American Pie, they did try to wax off. Hey!
They kind of did wax it off.
Yeah.
Thelma and Louise or Swordfish. Come on.
Don't make me be wrong twice in a row, because Swordfish, oh my god, that movie is so bad. It's so much fun. We covered Thelma and Louise. I think it's a great movie, even though it kind of falls apart. The chase at the end still doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It was just way too much. Even after the tanker explosion, but Swordfish is just so fun. And also, it's the quintessential version of this is how hacking happens. No.
This is not how hacking happens. At all.
That's how it works.
All right. So essentially, we're picking Halle Berry's tits over a really good movie. I like Thelma and Louise, but Thelma and Louise, except for watching it and dissecting it, is a one and done. Swordfish is dumb. Absolutely fucking dumb. But you can watch it again and again and again.
Also, the bank heist with people wearing Claymore mines, where I'm like, what if they just turned around?
We are picking Swordfish. It is essentially stupid. Alice in Wonderland or A Hard Day's Night. Do we even consider A Hard Day's Night to be an actual movie?
I don't think so. I think it's.
I'm gonna press haven't seen it. I have seen it, but essentially it's just a reroll.
It's also too. You definitely have not seen.
I have not seen Belladonna.
It's good, but you've not seen it.
This is a better pick. All right, cool. Alice in Wonderland or The Legend of Zorro.
Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, sorry, it's so good. It's probably the best.
It is my favorite ever, including today, including the Pixar movies, my favorite Disney movie of animated of all time. The Zorro movie is not that bad.
Yeah.
Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. Holy shit. And Rain Man.
That makes Rain Man look like a horror film, and I'm for it.
Yeah. All right. Dawn of the Dead or Fast Times in Ridgemont High. That's going to be our last one.
You know, this is the one. This is the one. This is Tom Savini and Green fucking Zombies. It's Dawn of the Dead. Let's go.
But Spicoli, though.
It was still Spicoli, but yeah.
Spicoli, though.
Yeah.
I can't vote for Dawn of the Dead. You changed my mind about Dawn of the Dead. I know it is groundbreaking. However,
yeah,
Spicoli, though.
However, also Dawn of the Dead with
a
the
really
bikers throwing pies in the face of zombies. Like, what? Why?
Spicoli.
Yes.
No, I mean, Spicoli is my least favorite part of Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Well, come on. Come on. What little boy didn't like the one pool scene?
No, putting the pool scene aside, okay? Putting the pool scene aside, I think it's they're both inspirational for other movies that did it a little bit better than them. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here. They're both kind of original in what they did. I'm going to go with Fast Times in Ridgemont High. There's only one person who's voting for these two movies, and it goes your way. We haven't covered Fast Times in Ridgemont High.
Yet.
We were gonna probably in June, but there are much better films, and we wanted a variety. We wanted a variety.
That was stacked.
Yeah, because you can do the June month we're planning. We can do that next June with 4 or 5 other
films.
too.
Yeah, easy.
One of them is American Pie.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let me get back to less movies. Okay. Right. So the fight between Tetsuo and Kanata. Again, this is the moment where you're like, interesting that Kei was able to withstand Tetsuo on a one-on-one, but she couldn't do anything to him. Yet Kanata, who has no extra psychic powers, but he does have, we'll call it the spark of something.
I would say it's mostly because, given their relationship, Tetsuo really didn't want to ever kill him. And Kaneda never really wanted to kill Tetsuo either. He wanted to just injure him so he couldn't, more incapacitate him than anything else.
Yeah. I want to move a little bit forward to this. This is kind of where we left off, where he cannot contain his powers. Like I said, I heard that YouTuber talk about this, and I thought that it's a very interesting theory where at this point he's so injured he cannot even contain the powers that are within him, so they kind of take over what he touches or what he says. And
not to mention the fact that he swallowed basically an entire bag of pills.
Yeah, which brings me back to Lucy, where in Lucy, the stuff kind of spills into her body because she, was going to be a mule, willingly or unwillingly.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, she takes a whole bunch of that stuff intentionally to bring it from the 20% to like push to 100.
In a lot of ways,
which makes the ending insane.
Which is so odd that you mentioned that, because you know what film it kind of reminds me of in a very odd way? Limitless.
Yeah, I can see that. It's not one-to-one. Like I said, Lucy is much more of a, we grab this, and grab this, and just
put it all
put it in a different scenario.
You get the where the metaphor.
Yeah, I get it. I get
where I'm going from.
I get it.
Anyway.
And this is the moment where it's like, Kanata, help me. Like he's lost control completely.
For Kaori to help him as well, and then how basically Shikishima is even trying to talk him down, but it's like, Chigashima, you haven't been able to do shit. He doesn't trust you, so why do you think you're going to help him?
The visuals I thought were like, this is if you've seen anime before, this won't shock you. But you have to put yourself in the mind of 1988, where this is like, we're going to talk about that movie. This is like substance, where
yes.
it's like, it's calm and then it goes body horror.
It's
and this
massive
is like
body
full
horror,
on
which
body
I
horror.
think Shunji Ito got a lot from this movie. Ito is essentially like the master of horror for Japan, and all of this stuff is like, yeah, it's massive body horror, and some of the stuff, some manga scenes kind of make your stomach churn.
Yeah, because it really is super graphic.
Yeah,
and
so we get the cut of the superposition between the scenes of Tetsuo and Kanada's past, given through Tetsuo's mind, and then also you get that bit of all of you get Takashi, Masaru, and Kyoko 25, 26, and 27, their time at the facility too, when they were just trying to learn, when they're getting their powers and they were being forced into all of this, where it's like, it's really heartbreaking because everybody here was forced into all of this. Nobody did this willingly.
Yeah, and that's the sad bit about this whole thing is there's an imminent explosion happening. So there's a dome of Akira kind of enveloping Tetsuo.
What's great too is you actually get to see the reflection of Akira as he projected himself.
Yeah,
because you showed it there for a second. It's like, hello, Akira. Yeah.
Yeah. So this whole thing is what we discussed. This is that whole scene of it goes back and forth into those flashbacks and then into current time, and the fact that the trio was like, if we get into this dome, we can stop whatever is going to happen, or contain, not stop, contain.
And also we can save the boy. That's the most important, because the three of them go like, well, he did nothing wrong. He actually tried to prevent all of this, talking about Kanada. We can save him.
Because he gets,
if we go in,
into that
we can never come back. We can never come back. It's what Matsuru tells Kyoko.
OCD took over.
We can never ever come back. Like once we go there, we are gone, and we can never return. It's
I thought, again, if you go back, I don't remember anything before 88 talking about something called like ascendance and moving on to the next plane. It probably did somewhere that I don't remember because, my memory. But I thought in any sci-fi movie, that whole clash between the sci-fi and the divine kind of a thing.
Well, sorry, just interject real quick. Kubrick, I think, kind of touched on that in 2001: A Space Odyssey.
2001, yeah. I like I said, it probably happened. I just don't remember it happening maybe in that sort of a way. Of course, like you said, and in that exchange of, or are we going to help Kanata or not, we have their flashback and Tetsuo's flashback with Kanata and that whole start of their relationship. And this is where I mention the fact that you see a lot of imagery with Kanata inside this dome, inside this would-be explosion, that you don't really get anything out of. There's no dialogue here. There's just imagery. And then when everything happens, he ends up with this little ball of light that he calls to Tetsuo.
The tiny bit.
Well,
you do get the Dr. Onishi getting his comments there, which was like, this is the same energy at the very beginning of the universe, and it deletes him.
Yeah. it really deletes him. The best shot I can do is that little ball, and it causes so much destruction.
Yeah.
And they keep talking about it throughout the film, about how to deal with destruction, how to deal with this massive thing that happened. And they're talking about the original explosion, the Akira explosion, and how that affected them. And now this is happening again, and nobody mentions what they're going to do moving forward. But this completely wrecks New Tokyo.
Yeah.
This complete destruction with lots of people dying and getting crushed by buildings and stuff. Like, there's a lot going on.
It's also shown too how major no building has any windows because the force completely blown through, which means if it were to able to blow in both through the entire building, means any occupant flown all the way through to the other side, and God knows how far else.
And I've got there's two imageries that are, to me, were fantastic. One of them is like the light shining through the clouds, as if a new day has come. And the other is this is sort of the city after. This is not an explosion. This is a city after a tsunami because of the water. Now, the water hasn't receded yet, but it's gonna be. But in the meanwhile, the entire Midtown is utterly ruined.
There's one other thing I wanted to add real quick.
Sure.
Before we talked about we do get that one positive moment between Kai finding both Kei and Kaneda.
Yeah.
And them riding off together.
Yeah.
And then if you go to, it's exactly like this, 2 hours, 23.
23? Oh, 2 hours, 23 seconds? Oh, that's tough.
I have it specifically because it's very, very important. Because starting at that, you can watch it in the background. Yes, this was just a pencil test done all the way through 34.
Okay.
They capped on purpose because it exemplified the exact meaning of what Tetsuo had become.
To me, this was like trying to depict the Doppler effect. But, that's just me. I can't really show it live, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So it goes into black, into grays, into spheres, into spheres, into spheres for
this was seconds. But the most important thing is, though, how the grain quality changes.
Yes.
Pencil test.
Interesting.
Was done specifically by Otomo for the end of the film.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And this is all to depict Tetsuo's ascension?
His transcendence, also with the other, we have with Takashi and Kyoko, Masato, and essentially Akira as well, because they took him with them. They all moved on and moved forward. And that's why they said, oh, with her, there's a potentiality of something more. And then it goes to the shining light then, and then they have them just running on their bikes at the end.
Yeah.
And yeah.
With the janky, ruined red bike. Because the wheel is really
the wheel's wobbling like a motherfucker.
Yeah, essentially. And that is it. That's that moment where just before that, where he is this. With sort of like God shining a light onto you. Sort of a thing, or a depiction of it. Let's just say a depiction.
Kei even asks, is like, where's Tetsuo? It was like, he's gone. He's moved on. And in a way,
Kalikioki is like, it looks like a Pokemon ball. That is very interesting.
Well, the major bit too is how it's written in Japanese is different from where the dub is, because in the Japanese, in the vernacular, it's as though he transcended into somewhere higher than consciousness. Like, it's not just like, oh, Tetsuo, he moved on. It's like, no, it seems like he became something more than human, essentially.
Yeah. And this is what? An eye? This is the very, very last shot of the movie. An eye, sort of like your pupil, if you got into like with the camera all the way zoomed in, so you can see the retina behind you.
That's actually a negative rotoscope of Otomo's eyeball. You got it.
See? I know things.
You got it, buddy.
Is that sort of his stamp on the movie at the very end? You think? I don't know. I was just thinking out loud.
I think it's more of just saying the fact that even though they're gone, they're not gone, and in time they will return. So at the end, even Tetsuo says, "I am Tetsuo," and then
I am what I am. Yeah. That's from 10 Commandments. Also the Bible, but you know.
Also from Popeye. I am what I am.
It's more like I am what I am, eating yams, but never mind. All right, cool. That kind of brings us to the very end of the show and the movie and everything. Went over a little bit, but we will send you to Pop Culture Minefield. I have no idea what movie they're talking about today because I didn't really ask. But thank you for joining us, everybody.
Well, thank you, buddy. I actually got to use my Japanese for something.
Yeah, I know. you went a little bit off the deep end because you have to understand. But I know you. I know you go there. You use Japanese when we talk.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. But it's a very special movie. It's a very special movie to you. And I'm glad we got it to cover. Like I said, it is. I found it very fitting to Cyber Month because of just the layout of the city. Really reminded me of Blade Runner, and it really kind of, we talked about this more backstage, not today, about how that sort of affected how they wanted to draw and how to present the city. The city is much less the 2009 version in Blade Runner and very much of real 2019, sort of kind of what we got for real. A modern city, no flying cars too much, no robots, nothing like that.
Which I find interesting because it's kind of a lot of people say that like this kind of the iteration of cyberpunk in the Japanese media. It's really not. It's kind of there, but not really. But one of the main reasons why I wanted to include this, though, and why I fought for it when we talked about this month was just because of the influences that resulted in Otomo creating Akira, and then also what Akira inspired moving down the line, where it's like when you think of modern sci-fi now, you can't think of anything that wasn't affected by a film that was affected by Akira, if not directly affected by Akira.
Yeah, especially when we already had a dystopian month where we kind of talked about stuff that were inspired, the Matrix, maybe not Dark City, but the Matrix in certain parts. And yeah, it kind of fits with what Akira was going for. And yeah, it does talk about that relationship because of the nuclear bomb does represent the next step in technology, where today maybe AI is the next step in technology. This is what they knew and thought about in the late 80s. Very much still affected by the war. And yet it is still affected today in certain animes right now. I believe so.
Yeah.
But very much let's call it, it's closer to the pain in 88 than it is in 2025. Let's
Very
just
much
say
so,
that.
Yeah.
So very much like that. All right, cool. Next week. What is next week? I have no idea. Actually, drawing a blank. Don't worry. I'm just pulling out time because I have it opened up here. All right, next week we go a little bit more forward. Like I mentioned, AI, and we're going to talk about Ex Machina. Now, for some reason, Alex Garland is not regarded as a very good filmmaker for some reason, but we'll talk about it when we talk about it.
Yeah.
All right. We'll have more research next week. Let's just say that. Ex Machina, go watch it. I've watched it recently, reviewed it too on the channel if you want to.
Yeah, we actually just talked about it not that long ago too. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have a taste of it. If you want a taste of it, it's on my review. It's not everything, obviously. Go enjoy that, and yeah, we'll see you next week. Because remember, guys, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. You're still here? It's over. Go home.